Hello, my name is Brant Hunt, and my channel is simply Discerning What is True. I am going to be reading again tonight a particular chapter that is in the book called Kabbalah and Exodus. This will be chapter 14. Title of the chapter simply is Point of No Return. And it's basically dealing with what we call the book of Exodus, chapter 14 and 15. So again, work is from Kabbalah um, and Exodus, and the guy's name is the gentleman who wrote the book. The book called Kabbalah, Tradition of Hidden Knowledge. This is the title of it here. This is a book that recommended by Phil Langdon many years ago. There is many symbols in this particular book that I yet understand. And I'll be quite honest with you, I don't think most of us would ever understand all these unless we were a Kabbalist. This is done probably, I'm guessing, in the 1930s. This guy wrote till basically he passed away, I think in the 70s as well as I recollect. So again, today is the 15th day. Sorry, I pushed the wrong button here. Of January 2026. Again, my channel simply is Discerning What is True channel. So, points of no return. Say point of no return. Exodus 14:15. When the Israelites panicked at the sight of the Egyptians, they were instructed to strike camp. Moses then lifted the staff that had been created at the beginning of the world and stretched it out over the waters, which at first, according to Lord, did not acknowledge his human command. But when the sea perceived that the staff bore the divine name, it fled on either side. Tradition tells us that the division occurred on earth in all the worlds above, so that so that grace might descend directly to aid the Israelites in their escape. In individual experience, this is witnessed when everything related to a major internal transformation is reflected in external events which occur with the change in the state of the person. According to another oral tradition, the Red Sea did not part until the first Israelite set his feet in it, believing that it would part. And yet another tells us how the tribes intended to be the first to cross. All these anecdotes describe the various attitudes of different parts of the psyche to taking the initiative step to the point of no return. Rabbinical literature informs us that the dividing of the sea was the first of 10 miracles associated with the passage across it. These events include 12 paths that open up, one for each tribe, sweet water flowing out of brine, by which the Israelites satisfy their thirst, and the phenomenon that whatever the Israelites desire, such as the apple, could be plucked from the waves. So it's interesting here. We have 22 letters in the Hebrew language. We have 22 paths with the cards here, the tarot cards. And we have the 10 plus the 12 equaling 22. This is a deal. There's other ones to see if there's another 22, if I can remember. 12 and 10 are important too. Together adding 22. Interesting that the sweet water flowing out of brine. So brine, I think, is salt water, so to speak. The reason why I know this is because of trying to think of the German dish here. Sauerkraut is basically with cabbage and salt and water, which the Israelites satisfied their thirst and the phenomenon that whatever the Israelites desired, such as an apple, could be plucked from the waves. These and the other strange happenings signify the entrance into a totally different domain. This was an act of grace, allowing a taste of the good things to come. Such phenomena are often experienced by those rising out of the mundane state into a higher condition. In these transitional states, glimpses and tastes of Eden occurred, and unexpected opportunities present themselves to the individual who, for a honeymoon period, experienced possibilities hitherto only read about in esoteric fairy tales or sacred literature. Jewish folklore speaks of the confrontation at this point between the angel of Egypt, which is Uzza, Zaza, and the archangel Michael, the defender of Israel. In this contest, which describes not only the celestial conflict, but the battle between the lower archetypes of the body and higher archetypes of the psyche, the gods of Egypt are chastised for their ingratitude towards the house of Israel, whose wisdom has saved their nation from famine in the name of Joseph. At the time of Joseph. That is, the animal soul had forgotten the presence of the spirit, which gave it vision and life. Instead, it had enslaved Israeli children, or the psyche that sojourned within the land of the body. So, we're dealing with the body and the spirit here, the flesh and the spirit. Quote, and the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud came between the camp of Israel and the camp of Egypt, end quote. It's based upon Exodus chapter 14, verse 19. Thus, there was no contact as the Egyptians pursued the Israelites through the pathway in the sea. The text then goes on to say how the Lord looked at the Egyptian host through the pillar of fire and cloud and troubled them so that they cried. Well, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them, end quote. This describes the turning point in the conflict between the body and the psyche, in that the animal soul begins to realize that it cannot perform outside its domain. In other words, it doesn't stand a chance. Thus, the Egyptian host starts to falter as it gets further and further from its own shore. It's like safety. The shore is the safety part here. It's like being in a even in a boat, a rowboat, so to speak. Getting further away from the shore, you begin to wonder, okay, do I have the strength to row back to the shore? See, that's kind of the perplexing idea. What's going on here? In other words, what was safe to them is now is unsafe. The Focus saga goes on to say that despite the moving out of their depth, the Egyptians still sought to hurt the Israelites with arrows and spears, backed by the frightening blasts of trumpets and horns. These were met by the counter cracks of thunder and bolts of lightning from the angelical hostess. In the individual context, these symbolize the activities of the deep unconscious or highly psychological centers that operate above the ego as it separates out from being the slave, or da of knowledge of the body, to become the honorable servant of the psyche. When all the Israelites had reached the far side of the Red Sea, Moses was instructed to stretch out his hand so that the sea might return to its proper place. So it was that the Egyptians who could pursue as long as there was dry land were caught between two worlds as the waters poured back. Such a situation is not unknown among those who pursue an interest in power into the dangerous waters of sorcery and magic. Here, drowning in treacherous tides is a risk for those whose feet leave the ground. but who have no wish to reach the far shore. Legend has it when the Egyptians were drowning, the hostess of heaven rejoiced. This they were rebuked by God, who said that while justice was carried out, it was a sad matter. The Creator did not enjoy the destruction of his creatures. From the Kabbalistic point of view, we are shown how far into the psyche the body can penetrate. And if we look at the overlapping trees of the body and psyche, this is borne out by theory and experience. The moment of detaching the body, dominating influences comes when the focus of consciousness shifts worlds to become principally psychological. This is symbolized by the arrival on the far side of the Red Sea. When the Israelites looked back, not only did they see that their path was now closed by the waters, but that dead Egyptians laid on the sea shore. For a moment, the Israelites were stunned by the mortality of those powerful symbols of the flesh. Then they realized that they were free by God's grace. Through no effort of their own, they had been brought out of the shadow of physical death and into the possibility of immortal life. This occurs when the miraculous opens the eye of the soul in the midst of perhaps great suffering or joy, deep stillness, or immense activity to glimpse a view of paradise and even heaven beyond the domain of nature. I'll say that again. This is what something that Phil speaks about when he met God. This occurs when the miraculous opens the eye of the soul. Now, it's not just your eye on the outside, but the eye of the soul in the midst of perhaps great sufferings or joy. What it speaks about is what he would call it maybe a stillness or a trance. So this is what it's saying, a deep stillness or immense activity to glimpse a view of paradise and even heaven beyond the domain of nature. It says also in Scripture, be still and know that I am God. The key word is simply still. Okay. And with stillness, you have the opportunity to meet God within yourself. He's not outside of you. He's actually within. But no one knows that, you see, because they take everything literally. Thus it was in this moment that Moses and the children of Israel burst into the praises of God, singing, quote, "Who is like unto thee, O Lord? Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed unto thy holy habitation." Another short chapter there, but that's good because we can just, it doesn't take a lot of time to read it. It has, again, some really good things to share about what has taken place here. So I thank you for listening. Hope that each one of you have had a good day, and I wish you a good evening. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Okay, take care. Good night.